Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to start this Makos daf Vav. We're going to begin on the bottom of Hey Amid Beis by the Mishnah. Says the Masnisin, quoting the pasuk Al Pishnaim Eidim O Shloisha Eidim Yumas Hameis. So it begins with the question: if it says that we are going to establish the testimony and have someone killed, so then why does it have to say 2 or 3? So if it's obvious that if 2 people can have him killed, so why does that have to mention 3? Obviously, 2, even 2 could do it. So we have 4 answers. So it doesn't make any difference. The first group or the second group, even if one, as long as you have a minimum of 2 witnesses, the second kat, the chiddush has power to be mazim the first kat, no matter what. That's answer number 1. Rav Shimon Omer Mashnayim in the hargan ad shehu shneim zaymin av shleishin in the hargan ad shehu shloshtan zaymin. It's necessary, just as we saw at the end of yesterday's daf, that the mistake of Yehuda ben Taboy, that he ended up killing 1 witness. You actually have to have the entire group has to be found as Eidim Zaymin. If only 1, then not. So too, if there's 3, even though 2 would be killed, if there's only 2, but if there was 3 and only 2 of the 3, then none of them are killed. So Tosfos asks, so how do we know Eidim means 100? It's a good kasha, right? Maybe it only means an additional a little bit more, like to maybe 4, but not 100. So we say once we know 1 group can be Zaymim 2, it no longer is a matter of a limit, and therefore it just means any amount. That's the point. Okay, answer number 3. It's coming to be strict. To say that they get the same din. Ve'im kain on a shakasiv l'nitfoil over avera ka'ever avera. So achas kama v'kama yisham schar sachar l'nitfoil oisa mitzvah ka'isa mitzvah. So we know that Hashem looks more favorably upon mitzvahs than averas, as the pasuk noiser chesel alafim is midas pranius. It just says al shileshim al ribeim. Okay, we also found this in the previous Masechta, that when it comes to bracha, it's considered to be like the aruvas hashamayim are open. However, when it came to the mabul, it was just like a small, like a window, not a door. Anyway, so the point is that if two people are the ikar edus, so if a third guy who tags along is going to get the same death penalty or whatever, the same punishment of kasher zamam. So therefore it shows that even the toffel gets the same as the ikar. And if that's the case by an avera, so too when it comes to a mitzvah, kavachaymer by a mitzvah. So therefore, if you see people that are doing a mitzvah, so even though you tag along and maybe you're not really even necessary, you're not even needed necessarily to do with the mitzvah because you already have the cores doing it anyway, but if you join along, then you're also going to get the schar. This sounds like a 4th answer. So this 4th, potentially the 4th teretz, is basically saying that it doesn't make any difference as long as you have 1 person who is a karber puzzle that throws out the entire kat. We don't say, well, maybe not. Maybe we should instead look at it as a situation where you still have 2 people. So if, let's say, 1 is disqualified out of the 50 Eidim, so what? Okay. So Omer Rav Yosef, we continue with Vav Ben Aleph, B'medaber Memorim B'din Nefashos. Because the pasuk says Rashi Kutz V'tzila Eidah, because we're always trying to find out a schus. So then we say that if one of them is a karver puzzle, then everything gets thrown out and the person is not going to be punished. We're always trying to find a way not to punish them. When it comes to monetary issues, the sky is bashar. No. In that situation, we're going to continue and say that everyone else are valid witnesses, and therefore, if there's at least a couple of witnesses who are Edim Ksherim, kosher Edim, so then we're going to listen to them. Rabbi Omer Echadin Mumnus V'Echadin Nefashos. No, it's also when it comes to Din Mumnus, if you find one is a corpuscle, throws everything out. Now the Amosai, and when the Mishnah continues and asks, when do we say all this? Bizman Shehisru Behen. It's only it only counts if those Edim gave warning. So if, let's say, there's just observers, but they didn't give hasra. Giving hasra means you are involved. You're getting involved in the situation. So if you have a carbon puzzle, but they're just standing around, so they're not going to be mitzaref to that kat to puzzle everyone else, to throw out the whole group. So why some people say, based on this, that when it comes to a chasna, they say, these are the Edim to the exclusion of everyone else, right? Because otherwise it's a problem, because there's a bunch of kroivim over there, right? Or you could say it's a davar pasha. These are the appointed Edim, and therefore, because these are the appointed Edim, they're the ones that are the Edim, and everyone else is just observing. They're not considered to be Edim. Okay, so, but again, just as maybe as a chumrah, perhaps we say at the Masader Kedushin says these are the Edim to the exclusion of everyone else to avoid this potential issue. Says Gemara, Omer Rava v'hu she'idu kulam b'toich dibor. It's necessary that they all gave their testimony at the same time. Says Rashi, Hasam Gamina Masnisan Meya Kashtayim, 102. If two gave testimony. Then another group comes, let's say 20 minutes later, the whole davar. They're considered to be separate groups for everything. It's interesting, what exactly is that language of whole davar? Okay, so some people trying to understand what exactly what Rashi is adding over there. What's that? So it only takes a few seconds. It's just saying Shalom Alecha Rebbe Mayri, which literally takes a couple seconds. So how are you going to get 100 people to be able to testify in that short window? So it doesn't mean the entire thing has to be done with that time. It means that there cannot be any gaps between one testimony and the next, and therefore they're all linked, as long as they're all within Tochnei Dimor of each other. Rabbi Kiva Oimer, so Rabbi Kiva, as our Mishnah said, the significance of 2 against 3, why does it say Al Pishnayim, Al Bishloisha? It says Loba Shlishi Chulu, Mashnayim Chulu. So Amalei Rav Papa Labai El Miata. So according to this logic, Harag Yatzel. And we should say the person who is killed the Harag Yatzel, he should be saved. Why? Because we said Rabbi Kiva holds that as long as there's a karev, then that's it. So the person killed should be able to save the killer. Says Rashi, Rabbi Yosef, they were af beloy hisru, even without hasra. Shodescham lahayid who matzel lasenid when they kurva haroig nami yatzel lasenid and shaharigam hu ra who carve etzel atzmo. It's interesting language, right? He's a carve to himself, so therefore there's always a karev. So since he's a carve etzel atzmo, so then the person being killed should be the one who saves the killer. Ironically, because there's no hasra. According to you, there's no need for hasra. According to the second shita, his taka Rav Yossi does require. However, so Rav Yossi holds aflo hasra, even without hasra, right? So that's the kasha. So your answer is kishahargu machar. You stabbed him in the back, basically. So therefore, he never witnessed himself being killed. Okay, nirva yatzel. This is a strange question, because obviously the answer is going to be kishiro be'acharav. So the question is, it's obvious, because obviously it came from back, because that's how you sodomize someone. But it means that he didn't didn't watch the Maisa Bia. Hoyreg v'roivei yatzilo. So how about the killer himself? Or the roiva, the one who's engaged in the act himself? So ishtik, so the Gemara says that's a good kasha, is silent. So kiyasa committed rebel no yokum davar b'mekaimi davar kasam davar. It says it should be upheld this matter. Says Rashi, it's only referring to that the Adim can't be kroivim of a loy ba'isa adavar, not the people that are actually involved in the whole matter. We're talking the whole din of al pi shnaim Adim, that or shosh Adim yokum davar is not talking about Adim, but anyone else is not part of that equation. Okay. Rashi, Taisus explains the reason why Almiyata Har Gatzel is Pirish Shu Baldin, because he's a Karoi, because he's a Baldin, he's involved in the whole situation. Omen Meshu Saine, Vesone Apostle Adis. Obviously, the fact that he killed someone, he hated him, apparently. He's Apostle Adis. Okay. Alright. Fine. So that's the Teretz. Weiter. Oimer Rav Yosi b'medaber more v'chulu b'mayasu shnei achim v'chulu. So we're saying that it has to be only if these guys actually gave hasra. So heicham rinelu. What do they say? So Rabba hacham rinelu. This is a lamixi asisu. Or did you come just to watch what was going on, right? Oh lasahudi asisu. Or did you come to actually testify? Is that your purpose? So therefore, it says Rashi, this is a way we can check them out, to see what they intended, if they actually intended to testify. If they say that we came to testify, then however, no, we only were just there to look. So even though they did see the whole incident, so we have to investigate and ask the whole situation to find out exactly what happened. Okay. Itmar. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel halacha Rabbi Yosi, Rav Nachman halacha Rabbi. So there's a machlokus, exactly who do we hold like? Do we hold like Rabbi Yosi, which we said the Medevar Amorim, or do we hold like Rabbi? In other words, when it comes to Dini Mominus, do we say that if you find one of them as a korban puzzle, that the whole thing is thrown out? Okay. Let's continue with the next Mishnah on Vav Amud Beis. Let's just see if there's any questions before we move on. Okay. Let's see the next Mishnah. It says the Mastisin. You have two people that are looking through one window. You have two people looking out of a different window. Like one in this direction, one in this direction. There was one person who gave Asra to the murder in the middle. If the people from this window could see the people from that window, so that's considered to be, they're all linked together. They're considered to be Eidus Achas. It's like two separate ones. So if, let's say, one of these people in the window, this group in the window, so strangely enough, so he and they will be killed, and the second one will be potter. Obviously, one group is potter because they weren't found to be zayman. The other, and in fact, their edus will stand, because the second group is only saying, this other group that says, oh, those two people in the window, they were with us. There's no way they were in that window. So they're not actually saying the murder didn't take place, or this person didn't do it. That they don't know. They just know the the first cot in one of these two windows were actually not in those windows, and they were with us. So therefore, the Edom will be killed, but the other group who's testifying will be able to have the person killed because their Edus stands, which is kind of unusual, but that's what happens. It must be that both of the witnesses give warning. Shenemer al pi shnaim edim, that you actually have to give the hasra. It's not enough that there was someone in the middle that gave hasra and you observed it. No, you have to be the witnesses. The shnaim edim must be al pi. They must actually verbalize hasra. Davar acher al pi shnaim edim shul sanhedrin shamas mipi hatorgaman. It's necessary that the testimony must be heard directly from the witnesses and not through some interpreter or translator, because it could be lost in translation. So therefore, when the Beis Din hears the testimony, it must be al pi, through them, which obviously means that there cannot be a meilitz, some interpreter or someone in between, which means that those people who are in the Beis Din must know the language, which is why the great Sanhedrin had to know all the languages so that they would understand what's being said, as we're going to see in a second. Says the Gemara, so Omer Rav Zutra Bar Tuvi Omer Rav, how do we know that Edis Miyuchedes is possible? What's Edis Miyuchedes? Says Rashi, you only have one guy in window A, you have another guy in a second window, and they see the murder. However, they don't see each other. You can't kill based on one witness. Now, understand. So that's not much of a chiddush? Obviously not, because Mereisha Shem in the law. The pasuk says, Al pi shnaim edim. It already says you need two witnesses. So my elomai echad echad. What does it mean one? It means echad echad. There really is one guy there, but 1 plus 1 does not equal 2 because they do not see each other. Tani mehachi lo yemos al pi echad v'havi shnayim sheroyin ma'isai echad mechon zeh v'echad mechon zeh vein royin zeh shem mitzarfin, that they're not going to be mitzarf because they don't see each other, even though they both witnessed the murder. V'loid elafil b'zeh chazeh b'chalon echad. Even if they are one after the other in the same window, ein mitzarfin. So I understand. What's the chiddush with that? Hashta. Uma echad mechon zeh v'echad mechon zeh. Dehai kachazi kulei ma'isa v'hai kachazi kulei ma'isa amrit lo mitzarfi. So I understand. In a situation where they were both seeing the entire action, just that they couldn't see each other, they're not mitzarf. So b'zeh chazeh dehai chazi palgan ma'isa. If let's say it was a murder, so one guy saw the beginning of the act, the other person saw the second part of the act, obviously they're not going to be mistarf. What's the chiddush in that? So when it comes to being boilas erva, it's not seeing half an act, because you're chayiv on each moment, and therefore, even though one saw the first few seconds of this Maisa Bia, and then the other one saw a few seconds later this Maisa Bia, so you would think Taka should be Mitzvah because both of them still saw a Maisa which they'd be Chaim Misa for. The Chiddush is that it will not be Mitzvah. Fine. Omer Rava, Im Hayorayines ha Misra, if let's say they would see the man in the middle, the one who's giving Hasra, or Misra Rayinoi son, Mitzvah. If the guy who gave the hasra in the middle saw them, even though they, again, the two groups in the two windows don't see each other, they only see the action, but also the person who gave the hasra in the middle to this guy said, don't murder this guy, right? You're not allowed to murder. And he was able to see them in the window, then Taka will be mistarf, which is obviously quite a chiddush. V'yomer Rava, Maser she'amru afilu mepi atzmai, v'afilu mepi ashade. When it comes to hasra, it could even be the person being killed says don't do it, or a shade says don't kill. This whole case of Edis Miyuchedes, we actually are more strict when it comes to Dini Mamnas. As we said, by Dini Nefashis, we always try to Vatzila Eda to not kill him, but by Dini Mamnas, no, we'll accept it. Why? It says well yumos al pi echad. But the nefashos do the enu kshera. It doesn't work by dini nefashos. But the mamnas kshera. Maskav Rav Sutra omiyatim din nefashos tatzil. When it comes to nefashos, we want to try to save the guy. So lamatanan hu v'hina ragin. So then why do we say that we're going to kill the guy? Kash. Okay. Rav Yosi oimer v'chul. Armel Rav Papa Bayami Slay Rav Yosi Haisvar. Does he hold like that? But Tanan Rav Yosi oimer Hasayni Naharag. The one who hates is killed. It's he's considered to be chayiv because he in Ki'ilu, like Hasra was given to him. Says Rashi, Umi Isle Rav Yosi Hasra Klal. Does he require it? Says Rashi, Vatanan Rav Yosi Omer Hasayni Shem B'Shaygeg Karangti. I killed B'Shaygeg, Nerag. He's going to be killed. Mnei Shehu Kemud Umusra. It's like someone warned him, even though he didn't get warned. So Amalei Ahu Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Hudi. That's only according to the Das Yachid. The sound of Yosi Rabbi Hudi Oimer Chavir and Sarah Chasral Lefi Shalei Nisna Hasral Havkan Ben Shegel Mezid. The truth is that we're talking about a Chaver, right? Some Talmud Chacham, but it's a guy who knows all the dinim. So therefore, the whole purpose of a hasra is only to be able to tell people what the dinim are. But if you already are knowledgeable, there's no need to give hasra. But normal person who's not a chaver, taku need hasra. We're going to stop there. Question 13. Alpi shnaim edim. So ma nilmud mitzib loshen alpi dahainu mipiem davka. We're gonna get to the Mishnah actually on Zayin Madal. But let's just see this question. So either it teaches us that you need to have the two witnesses giving the hasra, or that you can't have, as we're going to see in the next piece, that the Sanhedrin needs to actually cannot hear from the Meturgamon. Question 14. So Mahai Edis Muchedes, again, so we have one here, and they don't see each other. My Kusha the Salka Gemara, Rav Nachman, so we had a Kasha because Rav Nachman said, Diamer Kshera Bedini Mominus. Kasha Masnisim Bebeis Kiti Edim, Shromishtei Chalonos, they see these two groups from two windows. V'im Huzmu Kad Achas, who, if one of them gave Hasra, Vehain Neurogin. So we say, and so what happened? One of them becomes Edom Zayman, so they're going to be killed, but the other guy actually is killed. Now, V'imit Starfin Kiagavna, with if we tak our mitzaref, titzaref edazu kikat achat l'hatzil as zaymin v'nidan v'dibat edusan. If we really want to do matzil eden, save this guy, so then we should be mitzaref the two groups so that he will be saved. Okay, let's look at question TA 7. Ma nikra edis miuchedes umadina. So edis miuchedes, similar to question 14. As we already said, this is TA 7. So by dini nefashis it doesn't work. Question is by dini momnus doesn't work. So what he wants. But nefashis in mitzarfen, but mamoin mitzarfen. So that's what they wanted us to distinguish. And question TB8, al pishnayim edim, which of course is the same as question 13. This is TB8. Let's see what I wrote. Ha'edim atzmam srichim litin es asra. Sanhedrin srichim lishmoya edus mepi atzmam v'lo mepi hamaturgamon. Okay, so let's look at this last piece so we can get to the next Mishnah for next daf. Davarach al pishtam edim shlotehi Sanhedrin shamis mepi haturgamon. So Hanhu Uzi, there was these people who are from some other language that Rashi says she'ein hadayonim akirin ba. People didn't recognize the language as an unusual language. Dioskim the Rava, oikin Rava turgum minayu. Taka put a turgum there to explain and translate what they were saying. Now, how could he have done that? But to now, our Mishnah says befer shlotehi sanhedrin shemos mepi turguman. You can't have a turguman. So Rava made a havi yadai ma dehavi amri. He understood exactly what they were saying. He understood it. However, haduri hu deloi havi yada. So, in other words, you can understand what someone's saying, but you may not necessarily know how to say the language. So the people in the Beis Din, all they needed to do was understand what's being said. They didn't need to be able to speak back that language. So therefore, in order for them, the Beis Din, to be able to ask further questions, to be able to interrogate, to do Drisas L'Chakiros, they could have a Maturgaman to say, ask him this question. But then when they speak back, they have to understand what's being said. Zayin Amud Aleph. Iwa Vatuvia, so we have these two people. Rashi says, Edi Halva, Hayu, Kroivim El Ha'oirev. So these two people who are witnesses regarding a loan, they were related to the cosigner. Because we know the notion of an oirev, of a cosigner, is if the lova can't pay back, so then you can go to the oirev, to the cosigner, to the guarantor to get your money back. So again, he was Krevi the Orva. Havi. So So you can think that no, maybe they're good Edim, because after all, they're not related to the Leva, they're not related to the Malva. Lo basar arva ozl miloiva. Understand? As long as they can collect directly from the lova, you're right. However, what happens if the lova doesn't have the money? So then they're going to have to go to the oirev. So therefore, taka, they are considered to be kroivim, and therefore they are posel edus. Adkan.